Hey, how you been? Sitting right up front. Throw those tomatoes a little closer, man. Yeah, tomato doesn't usually give away. Cucumber. My wife. Everybody wants to take a seat. We'll be fixing to start very shortly. Absolutely. Fixing to start the mash button.
Yeah.
The last name is Still.
Oh, no. What?
Not a lot of questions. I got the email.
Yes.
Good evening. Good evening and welcome. This is the Goochland County Eastern Town Hall meeting for October 26th of 2022. And if you boarded the wrong plane, you need to debark the plane and head back to the terminal. I was asked if I believe in free speech, and the answer is yes. So I'm going to give tonight's speech for free. But I appreciate you coming out tonight. And for those that are watching at home, welcome and thank you for tuning in. We got an interesting presentation for you tonight. We're going to run about 20 to 30 minutes or so on the county, and about another 20 or 30 on schools, and another 20 or 30 on Q&A. Who's here for the first time, first ever town hall? Okay, good. Welcome. Welcome to the town hall. And if you're new to Goochland, welcome to Goochland. For those that are grizzled veterans, you'll know this. We do 3 town halls in the fall, one in the west, one in the central, one in the east. This is the east. And in the spring, we do another 3, same deal. All of them are open to the public. You can attend any or all of them. And there is no politicking allowed. You won't see any signs. You won't be asked for your vote. You won't be asked for money. These are open to the public, where the county brings the county government out into each of the districts and total transparency, shares what we're doing. In the fall, our agenda is on general topics of interest to the citizens, like public schools, like transportation, like public safety. And in the spring, our primary topic is the budget. We bring the budget out to the citizens before adoption so that they can tell us, it's our county, it's our tax dollars, this is how we want it spent. And then we react and do what the citizens ask of us. Now, could you imagine if the federal government came in tonight and said, here's the federal budget, is this the way you want your money spent? They might get some more feedback than we do, but we think it's important that citizens have some say, because again, it is your county, it is your tax dollars. So that's in the spring. Now, when I was a captain in the Army, we had a thing that we did called a hail and farewell. And the hail was to welcome new people who were transferred in, and the farewell was for those that transferred out, got reassigned. So tonight we're going to do a very brief hail and farewell. First, we're going to say farewell to the District 4 supervisor, Mr. Don Sharp, who unfortunately passed away just a couple of weeks ago. And when he passed, the county lost a true leader. And the Board of Supervisors, we lost a valued colleague. And I personally lost a close personal friend. And so we say goodbye to Don tonight. Please keep his family in your thoughts and prayers as you go forward. On a little bit of a lighter note, we have 2 people to hail, if you will, or welcome. our fairly new county administrator, who's been here a little over 3 months, almost 4 months now, and a new deputy county administrator. I'm sorry, the county administrator is Vic Carpenter. If you haven't met him yet, he'll be speaking this evening. And a deputy county administrator is Crystal Anitis as well. And not quite 3 months, 3 weeks maybe, been here.
10 days.
10 days, all right. So she's going to draw very heavily on her 10 days of experience and share that with you tonight. But will you please give them a round of applause and show some love and welcome them to the county. So thank you for joining us and thank you for being here tonight. Tonight, you're going to, some of you may have heard that Goochland is a special place. I happen to think it is a very special place. And tonight, you're going to hear a little bit about why, what makes it so special. And you're going to hear tonight about things like our investment in roads. You're going to see tonight projects that total somewhere around $100 million over the next couple of years, which exceeds our entire annual budget. That's how much is being put into the roads to improve the roads. You're going to hear about a new elementary school that we're going to build, and a new courthouse we're going to build, and 2 new firehouses we're going to build, and heavily reinvest in public education and public safety. And some other things that make us special, the schools are always in the top 10% graduation rate in the state. And for those that don't know, every one of our public schools are fully accredited and have been for the last 10 years or more, which puts us again in rarefied company. About 10% of the folks in the school districts in Virginia have that. So I guess 8 out of 132, something like that. And then, of course, we have the AAA rating across the board. The next smallest county with a AAA across the board is 3 times our size, at 75,000 population. So we are in rarefied atmosphere there as well. And AAA across the board, there's only about 1% of the counties in this country that have it. There's 32, 33 counties out of 4,000 that have a AAA across the board. So again, rarefied atmosphere, and Goochland is kind of setting the gold standard that way. So these are some of the things that make us special. We also, I know you watch on TV, you see a lot of different things. We increase the budget for the sheriff's department every year, added staff every year, added vehicles every year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but we've been heavily investing in law enforcement. We also have been heavily investing in fire rescue, public safety. We've been adding people every year. We've been adding equipment every year. We've been increasing the budget every year to shorten those response times. So when you call 911, someone shows up right away. Now, those are some of the things that the citizens have told us that they want a heavy investment in. And so we've gone ahead and done that and placed the money where the citizens have told us they'd like the money to go. So I'm going to get off my soapbox and turn this over to Vic Carpenter, our new county administrator. He's going to walk you through a set of slides. Again, about 20 minutes on the county, another 20 or so on the schools. And then there'll be Q&A, plenty of time for Q&A. If we don't get to all of your questions, the staff will be staying around afterwards to answer any questions you might have. If they can't answer them here on the spot, they'll take your question and get back to you with your answer. So without further ado, Vic Carpenter.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. I'd also like to introduce Ms. Susan Lascalette, District 1 Board Supervisor for Goochland County. The superintendent will be introducing his board members as well for the school board. We have tonight with us a number of county staff as well. The sheriff will be introducing his staff, but I have with me Mr. Randy Buzzard and Mr. Warren White on our IT department. I have Ms. Jamie Sherry. I have Chief Eddie Ferguson. I have Matt Longshore, and you've already met Matt's our utilities director, and you met Ms. Crystal Anitis, who is our new deputy administrator. You know, I'm going to tell you some good stories tonight. That's my job, is to tell you the good stuff, because Goochland County is an amazing place. I've been here almost 4 months, and it is an amazing place, and I've had that opportunity to see it. But I'm going to start with going over some processes. As Mr. Peterson mentioned, we did unfortunately lose Mr. Sharp not too long ago. So there is a process that we'll be following in replacing him. And that process really started, unfortunately, as soon as it happened. By law, we had 45 days to make an appointment. So the Board of Supervisors notified the community that applications would be accepted. The applications were accepted until this past Friday. Today, interviews were done of candidates. And on November 1st, the board will consider an appointment to replace for the rest of Mr. Sharp's term. So moving on from there, let me tell you about what we're doing for you. Your community, your county is significantly safer than so many places in Virginia in this country. And it's in part because of our sheriff, it's in part because of our fire and emergency. And going on a little bit, we're going to start with our emergency services. You can see some of the information up there that they've been doing. Fire and Rescue in Goochland County is an organization of dedicated volunteers and career officers. And these individuals, their job is to keep us safe. So the Fire and Rescue has got 6 stations in Goochland County. And later on, we'll talk about some of the enhancements they're doing to the station. But most recently, they're in the middle of celebrating National Fire Prevention Month. And we had our first fire show in a long time. Over 800 people showed up for our fire prevention show, which is there in Goochland Courthouse. Currently, they are doing an academy. You know, you have to replace your volunteers and you have to replace your career employees. So they're in the middle. They have 15 people in the academy. The academy is very in-depth process. You know, you have to go through about 100 hours just to be a fireman one of training and then ongoing certification. So currently there are 15 students, men and women, taking part of that program. Always looking for volunteers. I see a room full of potential volunteers. I certainly encourage you to share the word with your family, your friends, and your neighbors, because it's very important for us. And one of the things that we do in October is we want to make sure everybody's safe. And part of Fire Prevention Month is they give away free smoke alarms. Everybody should have a smoke alarm. If you don't, they're free. And they'll come and they'll install it for you as well. So if you know someone who needs one, please be aware of that and let us know what we can do for you. Like I said, we're in the middle of doing some pretty significant improvements to our facilities. I'm going to share that with you in a little bit. But moving on for fire and rescue, we're going to go to the sheriff's office. We'll let the sheriff tell you about what all they're doing, some of the great things that you've seen, and we'll see from them.
All right, good evening. Before I get started, I know I only have a couple of minutes, but I do want to explain why we have beards. Because I've had a lot of questions out in the hallway, why do you have beards? And the reason why we're doing it is we actually started No Shave November a little early. What we're doing is we're raising money for a young man named Matthew who's no longer with us. And we're raising money for his foundation called Matthew Smiles. And as of today, we've raised $1,400, and that's all going to that. And what it is for is to help with youth mental health is what it is. So we're going to be presenting to them that money here shortly. So that's why you see a bunch of deputies with the stuff that I'm ready to shave. All right, but a few things that I just wanted to come over and talk about, some of the things that we are doing and highlight a few of the different programs we have. First, I'm just going to start off in the top left is Vacation Watch. If y'all don't know it, when y'all are on vacation, if you wish, you can go to our website, you can call the sheriff's office, you can fill out a form for a Vacation Watch. When you're out on vacation at the beach or whatever, we will have a deputy drive by your house, get out of the car, walk around your house, check the doors, check the windows, and make sure everything is okay. So you can have a good time on vacation and not worry about your home while you're gone. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. That's just one thing that we provide. So please use it. They love doing it. Also, Business Watch, pretty much the same thing, but it's just for businesses. We will get out of the bar cars, same thing when it's closed, walk around the business, check on their business, or even stop in while they're open, just check on them, say hello. Then everyone, or majority of people, have a smartphone. We actually have an app that you can download on your Droid or your iPhone. We have a little sign out there that you can use the QR code and download it to your phone. It does all kinds of different things. I could talk about it for probably about 10 minutes. But a couple of important things is it'll give you, if a car crash is on Broad Street and the road is shut down, it'll give you a notification about that. It also has calendar on it, and you hit the calendar, it tells you what's coming up. For example, drug take back is this Saturday at Company 1 Firehouse and Company 5 Firehouse, where you can drop off all your extra prescription drugs that you may have and not going to use. So please download that. It's a lot of information on it. Also, we do a junior deputy camp during the summertime where we have all kinds of kids that come out to the high school. We work with them to do this. It's Monday through Friday. It's free for everybody. And I can tell you, it is a blast. It is so much fun. As you can see, the number of kids there. And at the end of it all, we have a huge balloon fight, and I'm usually completely soaking wet afterwards, but it is real fun. Another thing we do to Goochland County Sheriff's Office Citizens Academy, and there's a couple graduates in the class in here tonight. A couple right here, and a couple one in the back. So we're starting one in February. It's the last week in February. It's going to be a daytime class on Wednesdays and a evening class on Thursdays. It's 11 weeks. You learn everything there is to know about the sheriff's office, and you'll end up doing a ride along with a deputy for a 12-hour shift. So definitely sign up for it. It's great. Watch out for that. We're gonna advertise it in the Gazette and our Facebook page, and also in our app, so you'll be able to get those dates then. And then we have our Goochland County Sheriff's Office Kids Fishing Day that is going to be coming up in April this year or next year. And then we actually started a car show, which we did for the first time. And that was a very interesting event, but it was a huge success. We had probably about, what do you say, Sergeant Lebo, about 175, 200 people, something there. So it was great. So we're actually going to plan another one for Memorial Day, and then again, September of next year. So there's just a few things. Also Project Lifesaver. If you know anyone who has dementia or anything like that, we do Project Lifesaver completely free of charge for anything like that. We also in the back, we have Sergeant Lebo, who's our school resource officer in the back. And we have Major Mike East in the back as well. I'm going to jump off here, but we'll be around if you have any questions afterwards. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Sheriff. You know, one of the things, Sheriff, I didn't mention is just recently received a grant to put more SROs in our schools in this county. It's a commitment this county has made that our kids will be safe. This is a safe county and our children will be safe. So the commitment by the sheriff and the board is evidenced by that we've received. We'll have deputies. I think ultimately the goal is every school will have an SRO in it. Also back to fire and rescue. One of the I think very telling statistics about just how good a fire and rescue service you have is last year, the number of calls increased by 15% in this county, yet the average response time countywide decreased. And that tells you they're getting more calls, but they're doing a better job. They're always training. Just yesterday, we were in for most of the day with the ISO raters. Had come down from Pennsylvania. Every 5 years, they review ISO. And ISO is the rating they use to determine fire codes, essentially fire insurance. And that affects everyone in here who owns a house or rents a house. And so after 5 years, they're back down, they're looking at it. We don't know the exact results of it, but made it clear that we have improved significantly in some areas from where we were 5 years ago. And across the board, we've improved. So the hope and the goal is that our ISO rating will drop. And if that drops, then that should start showing and reflecting your insurance as well, what you pay for your premiums. So, you know, those are the examples of the kind of things we're doing. Also, just this past week, if any of y'all are Masons, the Masonic Lodge there at Goochland Courthouse recognized not just our representatives of each one of our stations, but also our sheriff's office and our state patrol for the excellence and the quality of service that they deliver. So we just have good men and women that represent us and working for us. Another one of the areas is our animal control. And if you've had the opportunity to go by our shelter, you know, the shelter is one of those really neat things that makes Goochland such a great place, because the shelter is a public-private partnership. It's collaboration between Goochland Pet Lovers, GPL, and Goochland County. And GPL, working with the county, some years back, a previous county administrator, Ms. Becky Dixon, had a vision and a dream of what it could be. But the county didn't have the ability to do everything because the county's, you know, is a limited government organization and core services. So Goochland Pet Lovers stepped in, and between the two organizations, your county and GPL, we built an amazing facility that's got an adoption center, it's got a clinic in it. And so the county provides those services, and they provided a lot of money that they raised. And hopefully some of y'all are part of that organization. If you ever have a chance to go by, you see our hours of operation, kittens and puppies. What more could you ask for, right? They have got some really neat animals, very adoptable, and encourage you. But also those guys are there to protect us because they are part of our public safety organization. And just an example, just a few weeks back, we had a rabbit and raccoon in the western part of the county. Which, you know, a rabbit, raccoon, well, the raccoon bit some animals. Those animals bit some people. It could have been a very serious thing, but they're on top of it very quickly. They're able to isolate the animal. They're able to determine that it was in fact rabbit, and they handled everything correctly. So it did not become an issue in our community. So having people like that are professional, they're on call 24/7, 365 or 366 days a year. So if there's an issue, they're going to be out there. Also want to shout out to our emergency communications department. You know, whenever you call someone, they're the first responder. They're the ones you call. And the sheriff and his team, you know, they're the ones who make sure that when someone answers that phone, that you're going to get that service immediately. And part of the ISO rating was talking about that, because that's critical, making sure that the calls are dispensed and sent out as quickly as possible. So moving on, going to talk about facilities. I mentioned a little bit earlier, and Goochland County went to this community last year, and a referendum was held for some major investments in our community. A new elementary school, the superintendent will talk about, a fire station in this part of the county, and renovations to the county courthouse as well. About $90 million, but there's more than that as well that's going on right now in Goochland County. So for example, in the courthouse area, there's the old high school ball fields are now the recreation fields, and we're putting in new lighting. And new lighting is first of all, it's state of the art. It's dark sky compliant. So new lights, new poles, new wiring. It gives you a much safer playing field. If you ever played on old ball field lights, you know how you have dark spots and things like that. These lights are amazing, but because they're dark sky compliant, you can go 100 feet away and be in the dark. So that's one of the investments your county is making. The skate park, same area. The skate park was, again, one of those public-private partnerships that we're so good at. So community citizens wanted to see something happen. So they started working with the county to raise some money. And phase one is underway now. So phase one, you see it's already the front half of the rink. If you drove by, you'd see it. It's going to be done in November in phase one. That'll then open the door for phase two and phase three. Again, the community will work with us, fundraising in order to make that available. And then in the central part of the county, Gold Central High School. That's again one of the county's parks and rec facilities. We're putting generators in there. This past January, you may recall, we had just a little ice storm. And in that part of the county, they got hit pretty bad. And so when you have something like that, it's critical that a county have a place you can go for safety, for security, for shelter. These generators will allow us to open that as an emergency shelter when people need it. So it's there when you need it. If you don't need it, it's still good to have it. So that's going to happen through December of this year. Tell you some more things we're doing. I just told you about the fire station. Company One in Mannequin, not too far from here. They're mostly interior work. So you drive by the outside, it looks like this nice building, but the inside, it needed a lot of work. And so they're underway right now with that. Company Three in Centerville. Again, they're doing just some interior renovation, planning, and exterior doing some work on all that as well. Then you get into Company Four. If you ever made it to the western part of the county, it looked like a bomb went off. The whole front of the building was just taken down, and they had to extend it about 8 feet out. They had to go from 4 bays to 2 because the width of the bays were so small we couldn't get apparatus in and out easily anymore. So they recreated a whole new entryway so we can get the vehicles in. Now this goes back to, yet again, public-private partnership. Pretty much all the fire stations in Goochland County were actually owned by, not the county, but by the fires. Thank you. And so they own and they have maintained and managed these facilities for years for Goochland County. So they have raised money. Sometimes you may get every year a letter from them even asking to be part of the process because they are volunteers. That's how we started many years ago. Before we had any career employees, they're all volunteers. And so they're the ones who are behind this. The county is, again, a very willing and supportive partner to it. But when you see these projects underway, because of them and the job that they're doing. Now let's go to something that in the central and the western part of the county is very critical, and that's broadband. The broadband expansion started with a commitment of a very large grant that we're part of, through the CDTA and through the Firefly broadband. And to date, over 82 miles of fiber have been laid, and over 890 people are now able to tie in that weren't able to do it. Port 80 is more the center part, Crozier, in their 28 miles to date of fiber laid, and about almost 370 locations can now tie in that had not been able to do it as well. It was a $79 million grant, and your county is part of that too. Goochland County is putting over $3.5 million into that as well to make things happen. I probably don't need to tell you how critical broadband is. I have 3 kids that are all in their 20s, and where I'm going to be living, where I'm living, doesn't have that kind of broadband connectivity that they want and need. I was talking to a gentleman the other day who works. I mean, literally, he has to work here. He doesn't have an office, so you don't have broadband, and you work online. It's a critical thing, and so our future is very strongly tied to that. This county is committed to make it happen, and it's starting to happen. Now, we still got about 2 years. It was always going to be a 3 to 5 year process. It takes a while. We're working with Dominion Energy. We're working with the various providers of the electric utilities that are out there. But you see where we're going with it. And then moving on, let's get into something that this part of the county is of great interest, and that's growth and development. And one of the things that your county is responsible for is making sure that we have opportunity. So our county is doing a great job providing opportunities. I'm going to tell you about some of them. Recently, of course, you're probably familiar with Greenswell Growers, opened not too long ago. They're an indoor hydroponic center. It's totally clean. They don't use chemicals. They don't use pesticides. It's all automated, and they've been in business for about a year, and they've already sold out their entire production. Showing up in Food Line, showing up in Harris Teeter's. And so now they're expanding because they've been able to sell everything they have because it's a business that makes sense. All of our lettuces would come from Arizona or California, New Mexico or Mexico. Now they grow it here and they can ship it much cheaper than it would take to come. So Greenswell Growers is a great success for us. W.T. Curtis has built their headquarters here. They're in HVAC. The Courthouse Creek Cidery and the Courthouse Creek expanded. Neat place. The Dance Auto, it's pretty important to our citizens that services are available. Not every economic development project is some big shiny factory or things like that. We need to have doctor's offices. We need to have auto repair places. We need to have services as well, so we don't have to drive 30, 40 miles to get them. So you can see medical offices, Dollar General, Dance Auto, those are just as critical people. Where we're moving forward, every point is getting near completion. They're looking to start having people move in one of their buildings fairly soon. Tommy's Car Wash in Valvoline, again, over in Centerville area, not too far from here. You'll see under construction, medical office clinic, apartments, veterinary care, and Richmond Machinery's offices. And then we're reviewing, the most important thing people always ask is, when are we going to get a Chick-fil-A? Well, we're going to get a Chick-fil-A. So it's in review right now. There's an indoor tennis facility that's going to be coming in front of the Planning Commission and the board eventually in the near future. And HG Meats, that's a really neat project that I'm really proud of. We're an agricultural community, and we pride ourselves, and our commitment is to remain rural and agricultural, 85% rural agricultural, 15% development. So we have farmers, so we have growers, you have people that are raising cattle and they're raising, a variety of livestock, but they have nowhere to take those animals. So HG Meats is going to be a small processor going to locate in the western part of the county. So our local ranchers, in fact, had a big debate on that, ranchers or what do you call them? They're not farmers, but they'll be able to have someone local. Because right now you got to go about 60 miles and wait about 18 months in order to get an appointment with someone. So HG Meats is going to be something that keeps us rural. It gives our local industry a chance, our local agricultural industry a chance to stay and keep raising cattle and pork is what they're going to focus on. And then let's talk Project Rocky. Project Rocky is a large e-commerce facility. It's going to be built up on Ashland Road near the intersection of Ashland Road and I-64. It's about a $500 million investment. It's a massive investment in this community, about 100 acres of land, 650,000 square foot building, about 1,000 jobs. And it's going to be operational. They're looking in 2025 is their goal. So the county is committed to everything we can for them. I'm going to talk in a little bit more about the road improvements that are going to go with it, because obviously that's one of the biggest concerns people have is you're going to have this facility. How's it going to affect your infrastructure? So I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. But the county has made a commitment that we'll be doing some significant improvements in the area that will benefit everybody as well. So in talking about all of this, you got to plan for where you're going. And that's one of the things this county is taking great pride in. Those of you who've been involved, and I suspect most of you have, you know about the county's comprehensive plan, or comp plan. And you know about our small area villages, or our small area plan, village plan, that we're also talking about as well. Those are examples of some of the planning processes that we're involved in. Let me tell you a little bit about that. Our small area plans are currently underway. We kicked them off in February of this year with community meetings, went on March with roundtable discussions, collecting data. April, June, we did surveys. You see, we had really hundreds and hundreds of people participate in the survey process. June and July, we had more meetings, more community meetings. And then using that, they started coming up with draft plans. Well, about that time then, the board discussed and said, let's make sure we do this right. So the board said we were originally supposed to be done by December, but they said, let's go ahead and take whatever time it takes. Let's extend it a few more months. Really look at this well. So our draft plan is expected to be available in mid-November is when the consultants should return the draft. At that point, we'll again have more community meetings. Our They'll be facilitated by the consultants, and these are open town hall kinds of meetings. So there'll be a lot of give and take questions and answers. So people won't be limited in time or anything like that. They'll get up and talk to the consultants about that. We'll have a community meeting after that at November 28th for Centerville and November 29th in the courthouse. After that, as it keeps developing, as input is received, there'll be a work session with the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission. Right now, we're shooting for sometime, late winter, in spring timeframe, when they'll meet on that. And that's just a work session. That's no votes taken. That's an opportunity for them to get together and talk about what they've heard from y'all, what they've heard from the citizens in our community out there about the plan and where it's going, where they want it to go. After that, then there'll be a public hearing with the Planning Commission. And then there'll be another public hearing with the Board of Supervisors. The commitment of the board is that they're not going to rush this. They're going to do it right. And they're going to listen to you. And they want you to be as involved as you want to be. The Centerville area, the Goochland courthouse, both of them. Anybody can be part of this. Is all of our county, not just part of the county. So you can be involved in both of them if you want. You see at the bottom where you can go online to get more information as well. Something else we're doing that's pretty important is we're in the process of moving into an online process for building permits and review. And that's a pretty significant change when you've been dealing with these things on paper and pencil for really as long as you've been dealing with these things. Everything is submitted to us. It's got to be in a paper format. And so we'll be moving in November to a new program called EnterGov. And it's a new permit process that allow people to take the whole permit process online. They can do everything from submittals to approvals to paying their fees will be online. I'll tell you why it's important to you, to citizens. This will now open the door for a citizen to check on the status of any single project that's out there. If there's a project you're interested in, you'll be able to log in and you'll be able to pull up and see where they are in the process. You'll be able to see it. It's not that we're not transparent. It's just hard to be open when everything's paper. And so this will move us. So any of you, if there's any projects you're curious about, you'll be able to go online and see that. So that's one of the things that for us is really important, is it just further opens the transparency of your county government, something we're very proud about. Now let's talk about something else that just recently might have happened. If any of y'all are on county water system, you might have noticed that at one point suddenly you didn't have any water. And what happened, as you can see, is about October 6th, we had a rupture of our main water line right where it enters the county, just north of West Creek Parkway. And it was significant. I'm telling you, it was a significant water main rupture. Here's the good news, okay? Within 30 minutes, our staff were on site and able to isolate it and start closing it off and repressurizing the water system. By 5 o'clock, every single one of the customers had water again. And by midnight, the pipeline was fully repaired. Okay, now that's, if you do the math, from 9 a.m. to midnight, a massive rupture of the main water line leading into this county was discovered, fixed, repaired. We still had to take a little while before we could get to off-the-boil water. And then that was because that's EPA, that's DEQ requirements. If you ever get below a certain pressure in a water system, you have to go a certain period of time of testing to make sure that bacteria do not get into the water. So we had to go through that period of time, but on Saturday, October 8th, it was lifted because the water system was in good shape. And so now we're still trying to figure out a little bit what happened to make it rupture. But what I can tell you is it wasn't human error. It wasn't human involvement. It wasn't Russian spies. It just something happened. And I say that because that was online. People were wondering if that was, I mentioned that for a reason. Sometimes things just happen. But again, the good news I want to point to you is, once again, your crews in 30 minutes, they'd already been on top of it and took what could have been a critical situation and had it fixed very quickly. So that's the kind of people we have working for us. We're also fixing to go out to bid for the force main replacement. You may remember a year and a half ago, we on the sewer line had a pretty significant issue. And so those are going out. A contract's going to be awarded, and we're going to start construction in the spring of 23, and it'll go through most of the rest of the year. That's replacing about 22-year-old force mains, the main sewer lines that carry the waste back into Henrico County where it gets treated. So we're going to see what happens with all that bids anymore. If you follow supply chains and whatnot, we'll see what the bids come in like. Superintendent will be talking about that in a second, but that's going out and that'll be fixed and repaired. Again, it's been fixed, but we're repairing and replacing 20-plus-year-old lines with an up-to-date brand new system for you. Now transportation, because everyone's got to drive. And we all know that that's a critical part of where we're going. So first I'm going to tell you about, if you've been into the courthouse area, currently underway is at the Fairgrounds Road and 522 intersection. They're putting in a roundabout. And that roundabout is currently underway. They should be finished sometime in October of next year, so about another year. The good news on that project is that 522 will not be closed at any point in time. That was always, at first, we were looking at maybe having to close 522 and detour around it. VDOT has figured out a way to avoid that. There will be for about 30 days on Fairgrounds Road, it will be closed, and detours to send people either through Reynolds or down Bulldog Way in order to get around that while they fix it. The extension, Fairgrounds Road extension will keep going from that roundabout over to Highway 6 and take people out of that intersection that's so congested right there at Fairgrounds and Highway 6 now. So that extension, we're looking right now for it to be in February of 25. But all that ties together into, again, traffic. And so one of the things we haven't done that we're going to be doing is a corridor study. VDOT has committed to us to do a study from the beginning to the end of the Fairgrounds Road corridor and take into consideration not just where we are, but where we're going and the development, the anticipated growth of that area, and coming up with the recommendations that we need to know in order to better manage growth in that part of the county. So the corridor study is underway. It should be done in December, and it'll give us some very good options of what we need to do to make sure that our citizens are safe when they drive on that road. Another one that would be of interest to y'all is the 288 interchange study. Many years ago, you may recall, if you've been here a while, there was a talk about building a connector that would go along Route 288 and tie in really right through here, almost back into 250. And so this is a study. It's determining if that interchange is needed and what would be involved in that. So the Wilkes Ridge Parkway would be connected to 288, and it would take everybody off that real messy intersection right now of Broad Street and the 288 and create a new exit and entrance for people to get there. Further to the west, the I-64 Oilville, that is a roundabout that was built on the west side of it. You can see at the bottom where how it shows you that would look. We've received some significant commitments from the federal government for that. So we're working on that right now to put the final pieces together in order to build that. Again, if you have ever had to use that at rush hour, you see how far back traffic can back up on the west side of the road. So that would alleviate a lot of those problems. In this area, the DDI, the divergent diamond. Later on, you may want to go look at the back of the room. We've got a blow up of the map of what it will look like. You can see that right here is it, but again, you can look at it closer. With Project Rocky arriving, that Ashland Road intersection is already failing. It's been failing for a while. We don't need to tell anybody. It's a failing road and intersection. The long-term solution will be just that, to build a 4-lane DDI. If you've been to Zions Crossroad, you've seen what a 4-lane DDI looks like. And that's the solution, the long-term solution. That's going to be a number of years before that can be actually finished. The state of or the Commonwealth of Virginia has been working with the county. The county has put in about $38 million already of funding towards it from other projects, and then the Commonwealth will be working with us on that. But in the interim, what do we do in the interim? Well, one of Rocky's commitments are the following. They're going to, first of all, for the to get in and out of their facility, they're going to be building 2 turn lanes off of Ashland Road, so traffic will totally be pulled off of Ashland thoroughfare in order to pull into the parking. They're going to be building a stoplight on the south side of I-64, so that as traffic gets off, there'll be a stoplight. There's not one there currently as well. Now, the VDOT as a separate project is looking to relocate the park and ride lot. You see that's, and you'll see that on the map. You can see that's going to go. That'll be happening at that same intersection. So we'll have new turn lanes, we'll have a stoplight in the interim, and then again, a 4-lane DDI in a few years. We're trying to speed VDOT up, and not very fast, I've noticed, but we're trying to speed it up, see if we can move that forward a year or 2 years and getting it done quicker. Then Hockett Road realignment. That's another one that affects many of y'all here. Of course, Hockett Road goes all the way up to us, up to 250 right there. But the plan is to build a new connector that would go here instead and tie into is it St. Matthew's Church? Yes. So it would create so that you could go from Highway 6 all the way to I-64, just a straight shot, and it would It would realign the Hockett Road. It would still have the existing stretch still remain there, but it would create a new connector. You see there's a traffic circle anticipated. Of course, all that could change based with design, but traffic circle that puts you up there and you keep going all the way up to I-64 and the DDI. It's up there. So those are all like, details. Those are all things that are very important, critical to us. But another thing the county does is, our Parks and Rec is an organization that is focused on doing a lot of neat things. I'll tell you a little bit about some of the stuff that they've been doing and they're doing. Recently, we started a concert series at Tucker Park. Tucker Park is on the James River right there in the courthouse area. August 26th was the first night concert we did. We had over 400 people. Thought 200 might show up for the very first one. Over 400 came up. There's going to be another one coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. It's local bands, some live music, food trucks, local organizations. Rotary Club is there, part of it. Encourage you to, again, come out and just have a great evening for doing it. Of course, if you had opportunity to go to the Central High Educational and Cultural Complex right there, so many programs are there. We have state services as well as county services out of that. Jonathan, Mr. Lyle, you're certainly familiar with that building for the programs that are provided through it. Coming up this weekend, our Fall Festival. And the Fall Festival is just a family-friendly event. You see it runs from 12 to 4 at the sports complex behind the administration building in the courthouse area. It's anything to bring your kids out to, your grandkids out, or just yourself, and come out. I'm particularly interested in it because they've asked me to help judge the pie eating contest. So I would encourage you to come out, and apparently any place that's got pie has got to be good. So that's going to be a fun event. Also, the next thing you see over there on it is called Comic Fest. And Comic Fest is a more modern pop cultural kind of an event. It focuses on anime, focuses on comics, on cosplay, just people getting into costumes and having a good time. We did last year for the first time. We had hundreds of people come out for it. You see some of the ones there in their costumes, costume competitions. Again, I have 3 kids in their 20s. And this is them. This is the kind of stuff which they're all into. They love it. The superhero movies and things like that. There are a lot of people in their 50s and 60s there too, because we grew up with comic books too. So encourage everybody, if you got the time, it's going to be Central High School. And again, it's coming up in November, on November 12th. Then pickleball. The pickleball tournament is something we do for 6 years now. Pickleball, it's apparently tennis for people of more tender years, better on their knees, I hear. This sells out quickly. It's going to be November 5th. I encourage, if you've got an interest in pickleball, be part of it, $15 a player. It is an event we've been doing, like I said, our 6th year, and they sold out every year. It's going to be over at the, again, Parks and Recreation Complex at Central High School. So as we finish all that, just kind of want to end up with reminders, very important. Obviously, we've got an election coming up, and your county registrar is involved right now. Election day is November 8th. It is a holiday, but early voting is open. Our satellite office is behind the administration building, again, in the sports complex, the old gym for the old high school. And you see the hours and the days that they'll be on. It's going to be open this coming Saturday and the following Saturday, and then it'll be open this coming Sunday, as well as during the week. Please, absentee voting did begin. The last day to request an absentee ballot is Friday. So if you're going to request one, please request it by Friday. And the last day to vote early is Saturday, November 5th. Election day is November 8th. So strongly encourage you. As you know, we went through census and redistricting. We have the new maps that are over there in the corner as well. We encourage you to look at them to see, make sure that you know where you're supposed to vote. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to the registrar's office. They're the ones who give the best answers for that. But by and large, if you need to know where you're supposed to vote. So I encourage you strongly to make sure that you weren't affected by any of the changes. There you see where some of the changes to the polling stations. So some of the polling stations had to move. And so you can see right there, most of them are over in the western part of the county out here. And finally, encourage you to be involved in what we do. All the things I've been talking about, all the resources that the staff in this room brings to you, because of what you communicate to us. You got your board members. Your board members are always responsive. If you call them, they'll call you back. And this is the most engaged board. I've been doing this for a long time. Most engaged board I've ever seen. And we're fortunate to have that. But we also want, you got the opportunity to go on our Facebook page, the county website. If you're not signed up to Code Red, do so, because when the water main broke, That was how so many people got information about it. Code Red will keep you abreast of those serious changes. It's not a weekly thing. It doesn't send out every time something of interest happens. It's only when something of very significant nature happens. So I'd encourage you to sign up for Code Red. We're on Twitter as well, or our main number to call. The sheriff has shared about his app that is important. Come to our board meetings. You know, I tell people, I'd love to see a full house. I really do. It means a lot to us because we're here, your board is run, and then they do everything they can, and then they look out and they don't see anybody in the room. I mean, that's good because that means that you trust them, but it's still good to come. So I encourage you to be involved in board meetings. You can go online to see the slides that I've been showing and sharing. And then we're also trying to get a survey. If you will take the time, there's a QR code in the corner of that. And the survey is just telling us how you like to get your information. It's a survey that helps us better understand how to communicate with you, to make sure that we're doing it the right way. You know, we don't want to be doing something, sometimes I never hear about it. And well, you know, why don't you? And so to understand that they don't do this or they don't do that, or they prefer it this way. So encourage everybody, please, to take the survey and go on. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. We're just going to move on to the school district, and then we'll take questions at the end of it. But again, I thank you for the privilege that's been given to me to serve you, your board of supervisors. And again, we look forward to any questions you may have.
So. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike Newman, school board member. And with us tonight is Karen Moore, who's District 2 school board member. And I don't see any others. Before, we have three. Oh, three, sorry. Lost count. Before I turn this over to Dr. Rayleigh, who will share the great things that are going on with our schools, I do want to take a moment and express thanks to the Board of Supervisors for their representation of District 4 in the last month in the loss of Mr. Sharp. We really appreciate that. So tonight, the more exciting news that we have is all about the schools in Goochland County. I was an employee of the school district for a while and now serving on the board. I couldn't be happier or think of a better place to be. So Dr. Rayleigh, our superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Newman, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking your time to be with us this evening. A few more introductions. I have Dr. Andy Armstrong, who's our school division's assistant superintendent for administration, and Mr. Bruce Watson, who is our school division's director of career and technical education. Mr. John Wright represents you in District 5 on the Goochland County School Board. Unfortunately, he's not feeling well this evening, so he decided probably best for everybody if he wasn't here. So he sends his regrets and apologies. Mr. Wright certainly is a very strong supporter of schools in our community. Mr. Carpenter spent a lot of time talking about the strength of our community and the many positive things that are happening, from law enforcement to public utilities to economic development. There's a lot of great things that we should be proud of as Goochland County residents. And I want to continue that theme this evening for you when it comes to public schools. I'm proud to serve as your superintendent. I'm thankful this community has given your trust to me to lead our schools over the course of the past 6 years. I'm now entering year 7. And I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to be leading any other school division in this Commonwealth. I'm quite thankful to be here. So by the time that I leave with you this evening, I'm hoping that you have a better understanding of what is happening in our schools on a regular basis, give you an opportunity certainly to ask some questions, but hopefully you have a really good understanding of the investment that this community makes in public education, how that investment is returning dividends time and time again into very well-educated young men and women who are fully prepared to enter the workforce and be quite successful after high school. We are now entering our second quarter of the year. It's hard to believe the first 9 weeks are over, but we just started the second quarter today. And I'll tell you, by all accounts, we are off to an amazing start. All the challenges that we have had in the past are behind us. And so we're running school and we're doing what we do and we're doing it well. And so really proud of what we have done to get this year started off on a very positive note. So let me share some of the things that have happened over the course of the past several months and some recognitions that our school division has received. And ultimately, we don't do this to pat ourselves on the back. Ultimately, it's a way of talking about how that investment our community is making in public education is in fact returning dividends. And so your school division, our school division, is recognized on a regional basis, a statewide basis, a national basis, and on a worldwide stage. And this is recognition of the fact that we have 5 schools in our school division. All 5 schools have been recognized by Apple for what we're doing to provide really amazing experiences for kids inside the classroom. This community has invested significantly in technology for our students. And if you want students to do the work of the world, they need the tools of the world. And this community provides that for our students. And it's been recognized by Apple. There are less than 700 schools worldwide that have received this designation, and all 5 have been recognized here in Goochland. So something that we are extremely proud of. Niche.com is one of those places where you go when you are deciding where you want to live, what school you want to go to, what college you may want to go to. It's one of those places where places analyze data. You also get feedback from anecdotal customers and say, here's my experience with this from a customer service standpoint. And so now for the 5th year in a row, 5 years in a row, Niche.com has rated Goochland County Public Schools the premier school division in the Richmond region. And so with all the big boys and girls to the north, south, east, and west of us, we sit right here as #1 and fully recognized for the great work that our entire team does on a regular basis. And I'm certainly very proud of the work that our team does to get that recognition. On a national basis, we've been recognized for the experiences that we provide students with disabilities. We have a unified sports program where we have students with disabilities competing side by side with their non-disabled peers. And to earn this recognition, it's pretty rigorous. And I'm proud of our team for doing this because one of the things that I'm very proud of, quite honestly, being a public educator, is we serve each and every child that walks through the door. Regardless of that child's background and their experiences, we provide an exceptional education for each and every child. So students with disabilities certainly are getting a very positive experience in our school division. They have a chance to put on the Bulldog uniform, compete as Bulldogs, just like our varsity football team does, and a variety of athletics. And so we're real excited about this national recognition. This community invests $40 million of taxpayer resources in our school division, from local funds, federal funds, and state funds. Regardless of the source, they are all generated here in Goochland by the hardworking men and women in this community. And so we're proud of what we are doing to be strong stewards of that taxpayer dollar. And we've been recognized by the Government Finance Officers Association for our budget and what we are doing to be transparent with our budget, how we outline everything that we are proposing to do with those funds. I'm certainly proud of that recognition and another sign of our school division's success. As Mr. Peterson said, we are a premier company in this community. Our school division has been recognized for many, many years for its success on the standards of learning assessments and our performance on that achievement measure. There are just a handful of school divisions out of 132 that have all of their schools fully accredited for over 10 years. And Goochland is one of them. Again, very elite and premier company that we're proud to be a part of. So if you look closely as where we are competitive in our region, we are not only competitive on a statewide basis, but within our region, we have really strong results on a variety of content ranging from reading to science. And you can see that we're really in the upper echelon there, comparing ourselves to our peers and other school divisions around us. And then if you zoom back out on a statewide basis, if you look at all content areas, our performance on the spring 2022 standards of learning performance assessments, or those achievement measures, we are exceeding the state average in every content area. So statewide, regionally, we're really competitive and doing an amazing job of performing at a very, very high level when it comes to that achievement measure. Here's another measure that's really important too, because ultimately the finish line for our students is, are they going to graduate? Yeah, they're going to pass the test, they're going to grow, they're going to go to a lot of great experiences, but ultimately the end game for us is getting them to graduate. And so we're graduating our students at an extremely high rate. When you walk in at Goochland High School as a freshman, 4 years later, you're going to graduate. We're going to provide a lot of support around you to ensure that you are successful. And so we are now 1 or 2 students away, quite honestly. And sometimes those 1 or 2 students move from our community. We don't know where they go. And then ultimately it's held against us because we just can't find them in another community, or they may leave the country. But 97% on-time graduation rate is something we're extremely proud of. We are committed to 100%, and I believe that we will get there in time. So let's talk about our new year. Again, it's been a very positive start to the year. A lot of great things happening academically in our classrooms. I get the pleasure of seeing that on a regular basis, and we have one of our teachers with us tonight. And I just want to give a shout out to our teachers, because our teachers are doing amazing things for kids day in and day out. You walk into our classrooms, kids are engaged, they're having a good experience, they're having fun, believe it or not, and they're learning. And as you can see on the measures that we have, we're successful too. And so our parents are satisfied with the experience that their children are having, and we're highly successful in so many ways. So we've had a great year. I'm really proud of what we're doing. But ultimately, we want to take this already strong and successful school division and make it stronger. We're not satisfied. We're not just going to kick our feet up on our desk and say, look, we've arrived. That's not the Goochland way. We always want to improve and get better. And ultimately, our theme for this year is making the strong school division even stronger. So strong academic performance, but the experiences that we provide to students outside of the classroom are equally as high. And so our volleyball team this year is having a really strong year. And I'm proud of what we provide to students for a small rural school division. The experiences we provide to our kids at Goochland High School rival what you may see in a school division that's maybe 5-6 times larger than us. But we offer a variety of sports and activities, from volleyball to football, golf, cross country, cheerleading. This is our unified sports team I was telling you about. Really proud of these youngsters. They're going to compete on Friday in a field day against other school divisions with their non-disabled peers. So pretty excited about that. Strong fine arts program, specifically our band, the Marching Bulldogs. And then Mr. Watson has led us so well in the past several years to have a premier career and technical education program at the Commonwealth. You may not know that Goochland County is the host of the only 2-year heavy equipment operating program in the Commonwealth. The only one. And these young men and women are graduating from high school able to really pick where they want to go to get a job, making great money with no college debt. And that's an example of just one of the many programs that we offer, from healthcare sciences to culinary arts to sports medicine. We have programs that meet the needs of every child that wants to do something that is not related to a college experience. So our students are very well trained and have the opportunity to do great things. And they leave even from computer science and virtual reality. And this is just a smattering of the opportunities we offer our students. Very proud of our CTE program. You heard a little bit about how this community truly invests in public education and emergency services. And we are a public school system. And we are just one part of the many, many aspects of what happens on a regular basis in this community. And I'm really proud of the partnership that we have with first responders in our community, Sheriff Creasy and Chief Ferguson. We've done joint trainings this summer. And as we know, there was a tragic shooting in our nation just this week. But I'll tell you, we're very well prepared. And the relationship that we have with fire rescue and law enforcement is extremely strong. We train side by side, we work together. It's not you versus us versus them. All of us are working together to ensure the safety and well-being of our visitors, our staff, and our students on a regular basis, and very grateful for the partnership that we have. Our community also has a strong partnership with community agencies like the YMCA, other business partners like Virginia Family Dentistry. This is a situation where we had students at Randolph Elementary School who are may not have access to free dental care. They were able to come to our schools and get access to free dental care through a screening. So that was really positive there. And then I always want to tout our Marine Corps Junior ROTC program. What we do in our public schools is more than just reading, writing, arithmetic. We are preparing young men and women to be strong citizens in this community and beyond. So it's important that our children understand what happens in our nation and our world. And so here's a picture of our ROTC leadership that was at the 9/11 ceremony that took place in our community recently. And so I think it's really important that these individuals and our students have those experiences, and proud of what we're able to do to teach beyond 4 walls of the classroom. And then we also recognize that we are just a small part of what happens outside of our community. And so we have a really great partnership this year with veterans who have served and made the sacrifice in our community and in our nation. So we have our students at Goochland High School who are paired with veterans. So they build a relationship where they're spending time with these veterans, understanding their story, learning about what it was like to serve our nation in the armed services. We spent time interviewing them, talking to them. Our veterans have been on the sidelines for our football games. They have done the coin toss and been a part of what we've done on Friday nights. Our students and our veterans are going to spend time together in Washington, D.C., making those interviews come to life and make them more real than they are on paper. So really excited about that partnership. First year of that, thankful for the teacher, Miss Rachel Tate, who has made that possible. So one of the things I get asked often is how many students we have in our school system. And so we are a growing school system. We rebounded from what happened in 2020 and 2021 really well. We experienced a minor drop in enrollment during that time. But as you can see, most of our schools, 4 of our 5 schools, have more students now than they have over the course of the past several years. It's hard to believe that Goochland High School in our community has nearly 900 students. Isn't that crazy? But all of our other schools are growing as well. And if you look at the data overall, compared to where we have been in the past, we're pushing 25, 50. This is our K-12 enrollment. So you can add 100 preschool students onto that. And ultimately, that's the number of students that we're responsible for feeding, transporting, and teaching as well. So over 2,600 students that we're responsible for as a school division. So Mr. Peterson talked about the capital projects that this community has invested in. If you go back to this time last year, we were spending a lot of time educating about what the bond referendum was and what it was not. And again, I'm quite thankful for the investment that this community made and the trust that they put into us as leaders in this community. An 85% approval rating on a bond is unheard of, quite honestly. So it speaks to the values of this community and how this community wants to invest in what's important. And so certainly the school division's investment is something that our voters voted for as well. So let me share with you how all of that has happened. So, oftentimes you can imagine I don't get some nice emails, but I got a really nice email today from a mom who thanked us for this. This is the parking lot expansion in front of our middle school and our high school. And prior to this project, we had buses and cars coming in the same entrance. It was a bottleneck. Truly, we had cars out on both of the roads, and everybody had to come in and save the day on a regular basis. But it is a much safer experience for our students, safer experience for our families, and it was very, very positive. This was a significant investment, y'all. $4 million this community made. But I'll tell you, it's a 25 or 30-year investment because this is going to be long-lasting. Is going to certainly pay dividends time and time again. So thank you for your support of this project. And just another perspective of how beneficial it is to have a lot more space and a lot more safer experience for our occupants. So the big project that was a part of the school division's bond referendum is the new Goochland Elementary School. And so this project has come along very nicely over the course of the past 12 months. And on October the 17th, bids hit the street. We sent the bid documentation to 8 pre-qualified bidders. And so we have a pre-construction meeting actually tomorrow where the bidders get a chance to come in and ask us questions and seek clarity on some things. But over the course of the past 12 months, we really have worked hard to try to contain costs. And it's been a challenge. As we all know, we're all experiencing inflation in our own personal lives. And so we really have tried to make this a project that's going to represent this community well for 50 or more years, but at the same time as spending our taxpayer dollars wisely. So ultimately, we will see what the bids come in on November the 17th. We will know then truly what the cost of this project is going to be. But we've really tried to simplify the design in a whole lot of ways. This is just a floor plan sketch. It's a 2-story structure. The blue sections of the building are where the academic wings are, so classrooms on top of classrooms. And then we have some of your core services like gymnasium and kitchen and admin on the right-hand side. So we went vertical to save us some concrete and to save us some footprint. So we'll hopefully reveal some some positive changes associated with that. So just an exterior view of what it's going to look like, a very conservative look on the outside. It will be a brick structure that will be long lasting for this community for many, many years. Car traffic and bus traffic separated with a common plaza where students will enter together regardless of how they get to school. So there's a lot of symbolism associated with that, which is kind of cool. Just a simple office complex On the inside, this is where students would dine during the course of the day. So we wanted to provide some natural light for our students there. Certainly that's part of the health and wellness initiatives that we have. So this is a depiction of what dining area would look like. It is a two-story design. So we tried to, rather than just having steps that went upstairs, we wanted to have steps that were functional as well. So on the left-hand side of the steps is what we call a learning stair. So you could have a teacher with about 5 or 6 students on the learning stairs doing some small group work. All students are also passing up to the second floor. Picture of a performance area. This place will not have an auditorium. As we were value engineering, as you can imagine, 1,000 square feet auditorium that is used 3 or 4 times during the course of the year at $345 per square foot. We did this instead. I feel that this is going to be able to accomplish our objectives and have a nice place for a grade level to be, have some performances in place where we can have 50 or 60 students and their parents. So we feel that this is a really nice compromise to make that happen. Then we try to build a lot of flexibility into the design as well. The library being important in literacy when it comes to the early education of our elementary students. So this is kind of the center of the school. The library is there in the middle, and students, as they're walking to and from class, they can peek down and see what's happening in the library. So pretty good experience that we're expecting to have for our students. And then we also wanted some flexible collaboration spaces. When I've given tours to our schools, I say, look at these students here on the floor. I said, they're working, they're doing a lot of great work, but maybe not as comfortable as we want it to be. Oftentimes what we see in our classrooms is that work spills out of the traditional 4 walls. We have students working together, communicating, collaborating, and doing those core skills that we need. But trying to build some of the spaces into this design to allow that to happen with more purpose. And then this is a picture of the back side of the school. Playground on the right-hand side, cafeteria on the left-hand side, so just the opposite side where one would enter. So ultimately, we'll see where that turns out. We will work together with the school board and board of supervisors to determine the next steps from here. But again, thankful for the support our community has given us at this point in time. We'll definitely keep you informed as we go ahead. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Bailey. How about a round of applause for our school? They do a fantastic job. Fantastic job. And, every day, all of our children go into those buildings, and our children are our future. That means these folks literally have Goochland's future in their hands every day on a daily basis, and they do a fantastic job with it. Now, why else do we care about good public schools? There's a high correlation between the value of your house and the quality of your schools. And for most people, the single largest investment is their home. And one of the best ways to protect the value of your home is to have excellent public schools. And you've done a fantastic job with that. Now, there's other benefits as well. We mentioned Mr. Bruce Watson runs our CTE program, Career and Technical Education. And I think there's about 16 different tracks or so, and 17. And one of those is culinary arts. And in culinary arts, they bake and they cook. And one of the things they bake and cook is cookies. And are these cookies baked by the students from the culinary arts program and the CTE? So that's one of the side benefits of having excellent CTE programs is please be sure to pick one up on the way out. Since it was done by our students, we know they're high quality. Because if you've ever had their food, those guys know what they're doing. We have mentioned the heavy equipment operators. A couple of years ago, there was a fellow that came out of that course. They come out certified to go in the cab of this equipment day one. That saves the builders and developers all that money of certifying them. And so one of the kids got an offer at $60,000 a year, $60,000 a year. So for 4 years, that's about $240,000, about $250,000. Instead of going to UVA or VTech and spending $60,000 a year, which is about $250,000. So for a kid that is not college ready, that's a $500,000 swing in their bottom line. That's what these guys can do for somebody who's not going to school, to college. Come out without debt, come out with all that other stuff that they learn at college. So again, fantastic. We're not going here. Most about frat parties and cakes and that kind of stuff. Fantastic job. So great. Thank you. I really appreciate everything you do. And the sheriff's department does a great job as well. Is the sheriff still here or did he sneak down? Okay, the sheriff does a great job. And he comes in once a year and goes, I need more boots on the ground. So I said, okay, fine, here's some more boots on the ground. And then he came back later and he said, "Where's the vehicles?" I said, "You didn't ask for steering wheels." We got boots to the ground, so why don't we get you segways or something? We'll get people a way to get around. And so they're doing a fantastic job. And then, of course, Chief Eddie, and they save lives on a daily basis, whether it's an accident on 64 or a water rescue on James River. Just do a fantastic job. Two things real quick. One is, Chief, not too long ago, we went to full-time staffing in every one of our firehouses. That means when a call comes in, they don't need to call a volunteer fire to dress, get in their car, go down to the firehouse, get in the vehicle, and then respond. We have full-time in the firehouses, in every firehouse, 24/7. That means somebody's ready to go as soon as that call comes in. And then our 911 dispatchers, we got them qualified as EMDs, emergency medical dispatchers. So that means in the old days, if you call 911 and say, "I have chest pains," you'd say, "We'll roll an ambulance, hang in there, goodbye." Because you're not qualified to give medical advice. But with EMDs now, they're qualified. They can say, "We're going to roll an ambulance, so get through as soon as they can, hang on. And by the way, while that ambulance is en route, did you loosen your collar? Did you take an aspirin? Did you put your feet up?" They're qualified to give that advice where they weren't before. So that's material increases in our response times and our advice on the way, saving lives on a daily basis. So thank you for everything you guys do. Really appreciate that. I started out by saying this county is very special, and we've talked about some of that. One of the other ways you can measure that is you've got members of the school board and the board of supervisors in the same room, working in harmony. Do you see that on TV? Working in harmony, and of course, county staff, public safety, constitutional officers, citizens, all in the same room, all working in harmony, all for the betterment of the county. If that doesn't speak volumes about what a special place this is, I don't know what it is. So with that, let me get off my soapbox and pause and open it up for Q&A, and we'll stay here as long as you need to answer your questions. So who has the first question? Yes, ma'am.
My question is, with Goochland Public Schools, the fine arts program is strong with marching band. Well,
Just
okay,
for the folks at home, so that way they're
Well-
recording.
okay. Will Goochland be providing an orchestra program in the future to make their fine arts program super strong? And also with the elementary school design for the auditorium, long-term, is that supporting fine arts if they do a school play? Is there enough room for everybody to attend?
Yeah, great question. So specifically related to performance area on my question elementary school, it's large enough for about, I think, grade 60, 70 students to be there. That's appropriate. Something larger than that, we would need to use the high school and other space for that. But right now, our priorities moving forward with fine arts is adequately staffed for what we have right now. We're in the process where we have one individual that's running our oral program and our band program. It's too much for that individual to do, so we need to invest in an additional teacher for that position. There has been an interest in orchestra in the past. We haven't gotten to that level where that's been funded, but it's certainly something for us to consider as we go down the road.
And we do have a question from online. The question was, with all the new building, I know there's Mosaic, Reader's Branch, both residential and commercial, when will we see a reduction or even better, the elimination of the ad valorem tax? And I will start, and then Mr. Peterson can jump in. Certainly, you know, this board made a commitment years ago that they won't raise taxes. So for them, the most fundamental thing is ensuring that the taxes don't go up. Growth is good in the respect of when it's able to pay for itself and provide a better life for our citizens. And so certainly as growth happens, at some point, it could be considered, does it affect what the actual ad valorem is? But I can promise you that in this county, the only direction tax is going to go is down. So they're going to make sure that the finances county, as you heard earlier about our triple, finances county will always be strong and sound, and they won't make any hasty decisions on it, but their taxes will not go up. And as growth happens, but again, the chief, you know, he needs people, the sheriff needs people, school district orchestra programs. So as taxes go up, that's what pays for those programs too. So as revenue comes in, taxes will not go up, but as programs are added, as services are expanded, that's why we're able to do it without raising taxes.
No, I mean, the question is a good question. The question is, when will the ad valorem go away, or when will it reduce the payments? The amount of development does affect the amount of revenue available for that debt service. What sometimes is lost is the debt service, the way it was structured 20 years ago in 2002, which predates a lot of us. There was actually an escalation in the debt service payments built in on the theory that borrow the money, bury the pipes, wait for the economic development to occur, and then start to pay the debt back. And there's an escalation in there where the debt service has actually been going up every year. So while there has been development and it has brought in extra dollars, there's extra dollars going out for debt service as well. So the good news is we haven't had to raise the 32-cent ad valorem tax because there's been enough development to accommodate and pay for that increase in escalation in the payments. So the good news is we've been able to service that without raising the 32. And the more the development comes, the sooner that debt will be able to be paid off because there'll be more and more money to pay that. So at some point, if growth exceeds the escalation in debt service payments, there's extra that can maybe take those bonds out a little earlier than the final maturity. And I think right now we're on a track that may get us in that position where we may be able to retire those prior to maturity in 2043, I think it is. So that's the answer on the ad valorem tax. Any other questions at this point? Oh, good. You have an online one as well? Why don't we alternate online and then, so if you wouldn't mind getting the online. Yeah.
Thank you. So real quick, this is about CTE programs that we have in the high school. Are those programs fully attended by students, or do you have openings in there? Because I guarantee you, the contractors in the area will hire everybody who can get in there. So how do we get more into those programs?
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to learn how to bake cookies.
Well, I want to know where I get it from.
So I want to know if Mr. Watson had you ask that question.
No, he didn't.
But the truth of the matter is they're full. They're full because they are extremely popular and our students know the benefit of that education. Our families do as well. And ultimately, I expect we're going to have to consider whether or not we can fund a career and technical education teacher in our future budget. So we have a lot of demand. We actually have a young lady who's advocating for an expansion of our agricultural program as well. So we have more and more families that sort of are saying, you know, this is what I want for my child. But ultimately, it's all the competing demands we all have to make difficult decisions with. But they are full, and there is an increased need for that in the future.
Thank you.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Bennett, I think some of that equipment for the heavy equipment operators was actually either donated or on loan from rock quarries and builders that need the training.
Yeah, our business community has been extremely supportive, and yeah, a lot of that has been donated.
So we are working together with the community, and it's a win-win. The community wins and the kids win. Other questions?
We do have one online.
You can alternate.
Yep.
Hi, this is Debbie Arnold calling. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation from everybody. But I did want to ask one question. Is there any wiggle room in those dates for the Centerville and Courthouse meetings? Because that is right after the holiday. Literally, people will, some people will be coming back that Monday from Thanksgiving holiday. Or are you going to live stream it with questions?
Thank you for the question. And yes, first of all, to the second part, we will be live streaming. We try to live stream everything we do anymore and try to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate. The issue you already pointed out in the first part is the holidays and getting people's schedules, getting buildings. One of the meetings will be at Church, Grace Church. I'm sorry, Grace Chinese Baptist Church. And so, getting facilities during the holidays is tough. And then getting the schedules of the consultants as well. Just so we don't have a lot of flexibility in the actual dates of the meetings, but they will be live streamed. So thank you.
Thank you. I might be the only citizen that thought this, but I had the impression that the fairground roundabout and the fairground road extension were one project that would be completed at the same time. I noticed there's a 1 year and 4 months lag between completion of the circle and the award for the extension. What's the estimate on completion of that extension? How long between that traffic circle being finished and the fairground extension being finished?
And that's, again, a good question. And the reality of it is like any project, any more costs. And so at some point, you had to make a decision, costing where it was escalating. The DOT, it's a DOT project, not a county project. So they decided to separate the project into two. So the roundabout is funded The extension is not. So that's why there's not a date on it, because it's not a funded project yet. When it gets funded, then we'll move into it. It's not a complicated project. We've got the right of way, obviously. We know what we want to do, but it came down to paying for it, just to be honest.
VDOT plans out, we'll get your question next. VDOT plans out in advance. And so they've got a number of projects that when they agreed to them, were fully funded 2 or 3 years ago.
So that was a combined project.
That are, well, I'm just saying that there are projects they had that were fully funded that today there's a funding gap. And so they can't even necessarily follow through on all the things that they had in their books that were fully funded without finding some more funding. Hopefully that will come funding. Sure. Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions about the Ashland Road work in relationship to Project Rocky. The first one is, in the handout that you have, is showing as a tentative date for the divergent diamond to be done in 2028, with occupancy of the facility in 2023, which is a 5-year difference. Is that 2028 a completion date or a start date for the work? And my second question is the county going to continue to put as much pressure as possible on the state and on VDOT to expedite getting that divergent diamond work done? Because when Project Rocky opens, it's going to have a highly negative impact on traffic on Ashland Road.
Thank you. That's a very good question. If you want to call a friend.
The Project Rocky is anticipated, not 2023. That's because it's already almost 2023. It'll be the end of 2024, 25 before we come open. VDOT is anticipating now 2028. So it's about a 3-year gap where the current estimate is for one project being finished and the other project being finished. The county is working closely. Again, the governor's office is very committed to making sure this project happens in a timely fashion. So now we are putting pressure on VDOT. Can they move it up 1 year or 2 years, move it up to priority 4? Because it doesn't just affect us. It affects Hanover County. It affects Henrico. It affects the whole region. This is a regional issue, not just a Goochland issue. And that's what we're doing. So we're fortunate because currently board members chair major regional committees on transportation, which gives us the ability to carry these forward in a fashion that maybe we didn't have in the past. Because when you chair these transportation committees, you're able to kind of control part of the message. So the county is committed to pushing VDOT, of course, state agencies, so we can't make them. But we've got the benefit of the governor's office, the Secretary of Commerce and Transportation are very committed to seeing that this is a successful project. So it's not a 5-year gap, about a 3-year gap. We're trying to push it to 2 or even 1 if we're able to get all of our cars lined up correctly. But we are working very hard on that one, I promise you.
Yeah, I'll just follow on just a little bit. If you think about the business that Rocky's in, it's timeliness. Every second counts. So they would like to see things moving as quickly. Then the other thing is on VDOT standpoint, you mentioned they fund about 5 years out, so there's a 3-year gap. Without Rocky, the chances of getting that divergent diamond, as you know, VDOT goes by traffic counts to justify warrants to do the investment. This is something that I think got their attention. So
it wouldn't happen with that.
right, it just calls for speculation, but I think you're right. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to address you all. And just to give you background, my husband and I moved to Goochland from Henrico in 2015. And we attended our first town hall in fall of 2016. And you know our faces, we've been involved in every project that affects our area. And we have tried to contribute to our community as a whole with the sheriff's office and otherwise. So when we attended this town hall meeting in the fall of 2016, we spoke with the county administrator at that time, John Tedeschi, and he asked where we were from. And I let him know that for my husband to move to Goochland from Henrico was a big deal because he was born and raised in Henrico. For me, it was about water and sewer. So he then said, well, let me tell you how come your community is here and how it got approved. And we were approved because we needed a way to fund the bond for the water infrastructure that was put in place for Monroe. So we were here to pay the ad valorem tax, and we're a 55 and older community, so we would not use the school systems. So I hear tonight that the most important question is, when is Goochland going to get a Chick-fil-A? Alice, that's fun. The most important question for our residents in Parkside Village has to do with services. We don't use your schools. We don't have Parks and Rec. We do need EMS. We do need the sheriff's office. They do an excellent job. Nothing against them. But if they can't get to us, so we're told that we're going to be, you're going to work it out with Hanover. We pay our taxes to Goochland. So we feel like we are here to pay the bills, and it's taxation without representation. You talk about this transportation, it's not even worked out. It says so on your board back there. We recognize that. So when you go to approve a project like this, residents of Goochland County come to you with information that was not properly vetted by staff. We came up with the environmental impacts that were not even considered. That will not just affect Eastern Goochland, that will affect the whole county, the whole region. All of a sudden now I hear us talking about how the transportation issues are a regional issue. Well, at the Board of Supervisors meeting, Mr. Sharp, may he rest in peace, said he has no way of facilitating a regional approach. So you can't tout these things and not follow through. But it's discouraging to me, the process, okay? The lack of transparency, not knowing who it is. That is wrong. That is wrong in part of government. If this is a project that you fully support and feels good for the county, it should have been handled differently. The protocols that were not followed, particularly in the planning commission meeting, where the chair did not even ask for names or discussion, that is dirty pool. And it's a black eye on the county. And I can tell you that it pains me to be here and to be negative after hearing all this stuff that's going on in Goochland that we want to be a part of. I participated, Fire and Rescue sponsored the scams and cybersecurity discussion. So I go down to Western Goochland, I go to Early Vote, I deliver candy for the sheriff's office to give out in their trunk or treat event that my community collected. We have collected for Goochland Cares, yet we are not even good enough for Goochland to respond to our neighborhood when this comes through. And the infrastructure will not be in place. We are very realistic about this. So I guess I'm just getting real with you all about what we face as a community, and it's not good. And we do not have representation. And that's what you need to hear tonight. So I guess, no, I don't have a question, but you truly, and I come from a very sincere place. Again, it pains me to have to be so negative in this meeting, but it's not just how I feel. Our community.
You come from a genuine place, had a true passion. Thank you for sharing all those comments. Unfortunately, I'm out of courtesy for everyone else. We want to just make sure that we don't spend too much time, but we're happy to stay after and you can share everything you'd like to with us as well. So thank you very much for those comments. Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we talked about a lot of great things in Goochland County, and I noticed there's a gentleman behind you, Mr. Pete Williams, who any of us who are leaders in this community are also students, and we had the opportunity to be a part of a program called Goochland Leadership Enterprise, and I really appreciate all the work that you've done for so many years, sir. And I think that if you are doing that right now as well.
It started last week.
Started last week, and how many students?
25.
25. So what a great program. Goochland leaders.
It is a fantastic program, Goochland Leadership Enterprise and GLE. If you have any interest in all the rest of Goochland, CP Williams, get signed up. I've talked to people, I'm a graduate myself. I talked to folks that graduated and said, I've lived in this county for 30 years and I learned more about Goochland during that course than I did in the 30 years I've been here. So I highly recommend it. The Sheriff's Academy as well. I'm a graduate of that as well, and that's a fantastic program. And if you sign up for that one and you go through that, I was sharing with the sheriff a little before this meeting. They'll take you down and show you everything they do, including the jail. You get a chance to walk in the jail. And as a politician, we like to stay miles away from jails, but walked into the jail. When you do that, the right answer is, oh, so this is what it looks like. And not, oh, yeah, I see you painted the wall since last time. Just be careful when you go through. No, in all honesty, absolutely great programs, both of them. I highly recommend them. Been through both of them, and just you'll learn an awful lot about the county. And the ride along, of course, sheriff deputies love to have people ride along, something to do for those long hours in the evening and the early morning hours. So highly recommend it. Next question. Linda? We're coming back to you, Linda.
Yeah.
I have an ad valorem question. When Motorola was scheduled to come here and needed more water, you took out a bond to help fund it. Motorola, the chip market crashed. Motorola pulled out, left Goochland hanging. The payment of that bond, the benefit of Motorola would have benefited, it would have been like Project Rocky, I guess, would have benefited the entire county. But the county took on debt and then saddled the payment with only a handful of its citizens. I don't understand why. You have segments of this of the population that, or all of us support the schools. Everybody pays tax and pays for the schools. The 55 and older don't have children going to school. But everybody could have benefited from the bond or from Motorola. It didn't work out. So why only a handful of population? Why is it spread out? And let's pay it down faster.
That's a very good question. Very good question. And let me roll back the tape. The question, if everybody heard, is the TCSD, Tucker Creek Service District. There's bonds that were borrowed, issued to bury the pipes and build out the infrastructure, and only the people in the district pay the ad valorem tax. A couple of things on that real quick. It was done in 2002, as I mentioned, about 20 years ago, so I can only speculate what was certainly around at the time. But the reason for the district was they created this district, drew it on a map, it's a physical boundary, and everyone inside that district had the option, but not the requirement, to join the district. So you had an exterior boundary, everyone's eligible, and everyone was given a choice. Do you want in or not? If you opt in, you pay the ad valorem tax, and you have the option, but not the requirement, to be able to hook up to public water and sewer, and that might affect the price of your property. Some folks opted in, some folks opted out. The ones that opted in said, I'll pay the ad valorem until the debt's paid off. All the ad valorem tax goes to pay the debt. It doesn't go anywhere else. So no one else. And the TCSD was set up so that only those that would receive the benefit of the public water and sewer would be the ones to pay for the public water and sewer. And then folks that had their own water and sewer district, called a well or septic, and pay for their own service district, would also pay for this other service district. So the folks that would benefit from the service would bear the cost. And that's why it was set up that way, as opposed to a general obligation bond that would spread the cost of the bonds out through the entire county. Because they at the time didn't feel it was fair for folks that didn't benefit from it or receive the service, or couldn't see their property values go up from hooking up, that they are paying for their own service district and didn't feel like they should pay for both services. Does that answer your question, or is it?
I understand the rationale, but
Okay.
I don't agree with the bond. Was the county took on the bond? The county's residents should pay it off.
What the county has done so far to try and help that along is we've done 2 comprehensive debt restructurings of that debt. It was a very, very complicated debt to begin with a handful of, it had a couple of capital appreciation bonds and zero coupon bonds, the depreciation bonds, current interest bonds. We restructured on a comprehensive basis twice that debt and have lowered the amount of total debt service over the remaining life of those loans by about $35 to $40 million. That's $35 to $40 million less that the people inside that district will have to pay over that remaining life of those loans. So we've tried to lighten the load and we've lowered the blended cost of capital for those variety of loans. We lowered the cost of capital interest rate from 5 3/8 down to about 2.5. So by cutting the interest rate, saving tens of millions of dollars, we're trying to lighten the load that way. And then eventually, once there's enough either development or enough payment over time, those bonds will pay off. And at that point, with the 32 cents, if it does go away, that'll be a 30% reduction in your taxes. And that'll be a nice day when that happens. So we can look forward to that day at some point. And I hope it at least gives you the information. It may not make you happy. My job as elected official is to make everybody happy all the time. And sometimes I fall a little short of that, and I apologize, but we do owe everybody at least an explanation. You need to understand the information, and that's about all we can put out. Okay, Linda, we're coming around to you now.
Okay.
This is a nice tight 3-hour presentation you have here.
I just want to share for everyone who had these questions. Joanne Hunter did a wonderful workshop in 2019 that addressed every one of you all's concerns about zoning, about the TCSD. And it also is available online at the county website. She spent hours and hours and hours of her valuable time to make sure that we have a idea of what the process is. This is all a process in America, okay? And then we all need to kind of figure out what is the zoning requirements, what is rezoning, what is the TCSD, what is the valerian tax. But when you go to the website, she printed it out for me so that I could see it. Okay, all right, I'm sorry, I'm not loud enough. Okay, if you go online, all the questions, there's like 40 questions that are online about the Tuckahoe Creek Service District. It's in a question by question. You push on the question and it will give you the answer. It's not hard to maneuver. You all have done a tremendous job, you IT people, in making sure that we can now find what the zoning level is. If it's an M2, we can click on that and find an M2. We can find out what A1 is. We can find out all of it. And they've all been redone since 2019, thanks to these wonderful people who spend quality time once a month to hear us agonize over what we would like for Goochland. They do a tremendous job. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. You read it just the way we wrote it. Yes, ma'am. But Linda does raise a good point. At each of the town halls, inevitably, there's at least 1 or 2 questions on TCSD. It's very confusing, and I get it. And what we've done is every time there's a question, we add that to the website under frequently asked questions. And again, we're up well over 50, 60, 70 frequently asked questions, so that you don't have to wait till the next town hall to get an answer to your question. You just go into the website, pull it up, and you'll be able to get most of the answers. And if the answer is not there and you raise it the next town hall, then we'll put it there the next time and it'll be up there. So that's how we've gotten that list. Any other, we purposely scheduled this on a Wednesday, so there's no Monday night football and no Thursday night football. And I don't think the World Series starts till tomorrow. Is that the Friday? The Friday, that's Friday. So, but having said all that, you've been very generous with your time, and we don't want to abuse that privilege. So the staff will stay around, I will stay around, the schools will stay around, the sheriff, I'm sure everybody here will stay around to answer any additional questions you have. But at this point, I wanted to be courteous to those folks that have been here generously waiting and have showed up tonight and participated. Raise your hand if you think these things are worth it. Should we continue to do town halls? Should we? These are a good thing. Okay. Is this venue okay? Raise your hand if the venue's okay. Okay. Are the cookies okay? Are we? Well, listen, I want to thank everybody again one last time, and please travel home safely tonight, and may God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Small bone.
No, please.
When you talk about taxes, you are raising, you're not raising the nominal tax rate, but you are raising taxes because the value's going.